down to the lower bracket. And the other one will have to continue facing... Who am I going to guess? Ooh, Dark or Trap? That's actually hard to guess. I'm going to actually guess Dark right now. Trap doesn't seem to be playing consistently well up to the standard I started to expect from him. But I hope I'm wrong. Really like Trapped PvZ. Yeah, I'm just going to guess it's Dark. So that might be a Maru Dark qualifying match. Would be pretty sick, but I don't want to count timeout. He just showed us a pretty good TvT. And while Maru is definitely one of the best players in the world, most people do agree that TvT is the worst of all of his best matchups. He's still pretty damn good, but I feel like that's, I don't know. I guess I'll get into it after the intros. We're on Oxide for game one. The bottom left for Team NV, he is Maru. And on the top right as the blue tyranny of Kaisi Gaming's Time. But anyways, yeah. Maru and his whole, like, you know, his worst matchup is TvT is just because his other matchups aren't just very impressive, but they're also very flashy. Where I think his TvT is not really flashy. I don't really know if he can really put that much of his own spin on it. He's a little more aggressive, that's for sure. He's a little more capable of 2-raxing multiple times in a row. That's true. But as far as the actual game goes, I feel like we remember like TY's tactics in TvT more so than remember Maru's mid or late game TvT. Not to say he can't do it, it's just like, yeah, it's not as flashy as watching him destroy a Zerg or out micro a Protoss or all that good stuff, right? So, yeah, you might say it's his worst, but it's still up there. Still a very high win percentage. And Time is still going to be in a lot of trouble. If Maru is taking this seriously, which I do believe he is, online Maru can be quite different, but it's also like it's online Maru in a very casual setting versus a really important setting, and I guess the particular feeling of that day. I mean, this guy is kind of a little hard to call when it comes to online tournaments, for sure, for sure. Seems to be a superpower given to him when he plays an offline competition, but anyways, I think everyone's thinking about those EPT points, right? So even though they might actually be in Katowice, they want to be farther advanced into the actual tournament of Katowice. It can be a pretty big deal. Thank you, Irv Nasty, for the 11-month resub. I didn't hear any Twitch alerts, though. Perhaps Streamlabs is just borked right now. Chat box wasn't working. Twitch alerts isn't working. Oh well. Maru so far denied at every turn. He can't get into the natural, can't get into the main. That also means he's lacking a bit of scouting. Time has done a great job pulling an SCV initially, then waiting for his bunker to finish, then moving all of his units up to the high ground. I mean, excellent defense for the early game, where he possibly expected Maru to be a little more aggressive. Not as expected. It's actually the case. Maru did delay his command center to try and get something done in the early game, and it did not work out. Tank pops out, and then he swaps, actually. So instead of doing the Swaparino... Oh, no, no. Wait, yeah, yeah. He's not building a tech lab on the starport and the tech lab on the faction. Which is what a lot of the builds will do. He's getting a medevac, and he's swapping that onto the tech lab. Now both of them have tech labs. Yep, okay. Makes sense. He's doing that tank opener on Oxide that we discussed just last game, or 2 games ago, was it? 2 games ago. Time is trying to prepare for this similar fashion, but then he skipped the Cyclone, so that's what I was kind of questioning. And, you know, Bunny went for a Viking and a Cyclone, perhaps hoping that he could, like, literally just bop the medevac, right, before the player was able to counter micro. Didn't work out, so the Cyclone was like, I didn't really need a Cyclone. Time apparently was like, I don't need a Cyclone. Like, I know what he's gonna do. And he was right. Viking pushed away the medevac. Tank was there in case the medevac decided to be bold anyways. Excellent defense again from Time. I mean, I keep painting this as like a Time-favored you know, game one because I keep saying, like, amazing defense from Time. But Maru was really doing these things that aren't really fully committed, right? And he's macroing about as perfectly as you would expect, despite trying to find these openings that aren't existing. So things are actually moving along, maybe even a bit better for Maru. Okay, he's a little down in SCVs, but he does have a faster third CC on location. So, I mean, it's actually feeling pretty good for Time, yeah, but Maru is not so far behind. And if Time can continue defending perfectly, then he will eventually net all the benefits. He's going to have faster upgrades, going to have a faster stim. That is because he only went for one Raven. And the engineering bays, or the barracks finishing up, is because of his economic lead earlier on. But yeah, the lacking Ravens means that tomorrow's actually going to have 3 Ravens to Time's stim. Which, you know, stim is very powerful, but only when you have a certain number of Marines, right? If there's 6 Marines with stim, they're great at killing SUVs, but they can't really help bust you out of specific situations. They're not as good as, you know, 6 auto turrets are, actually. So that's where it gets kind of scary. Ravens are definitely a very powerful unit, no doubt about that. And Time has to be kind of careful about how he takes these engagements, man. Maru's already prepared to take it. He's moving forward. He's getting on that high ground, looking for the ramp, and Time, very smartly, moves out, clears out a scouting Marine, and then moves a Reaper forward to see how prepared Maru is, or if Maru is also going to try and engage on top of him. For Time here, it's very difficult because he knows he's going to get interference matrix. It's how many Ravens his opponent has. He either has to just take the interference matrix, or he has to try and bait it out, basically, which he just did a great job of that. Very close timing on getting the unsiege versus the matrix, but since the matrix is a cast, right, it's a favored Time a little bit. Still trying to make this work, actually. The Marines trying to stop the Ravens, getting the auto turrets and the interference matrix. Does an okay job at getting the tanks as well. I say okay because obviously the tanks live of Maru, but then the Marines successfully did get deleted there. Tanks of Time just barely in position. Oh, and he wins the tank war. Nicely done. But yeah, Maru also got his Marines deleted, and without those Marines to actually ferry the tanks forward, and with Time having his tanks alive and well, there's no way for Maru to continue that attack. So again, nice defense there from Time. But Maru is not too far behind. Yes, on the stim he's behind, which means also combat shields he's behind, but 1-1. Well, actually, we'll see if that actually ends up still being behind. Armory's a bit late for Time, so I think it'll be a very tight upgrade difference. Time's also already working on 5 barracks with reactors, it looks like, so that production of Marines really starting to shoot up there, which makes these 3 Ravens harder to use. Of course, they're still very useful, but as the game gets a little more action-packed, a little more mobile, a little more about those stim Marines and concaves, the Ravens either get harder to use or just simply don't get to use the same spellcasting abilities to the same effect, right? 4th base on location for Time can be quite bold, but so far he's doing an excellent job defending, so I think he's gained a little bit of confidence. That's actually correct. He should be confident. Maru's going for 4th CC, and not on location, and in fact, a more dangerous location, I would argue. Well, maybe not. Time did go directly towards the 4th base, but still, this is like, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, Maru even realized it. He's like, oh yeah, you know what? Never mind. Never mind. That was clearly going to be siegeable from that high ground. Marine drop. Oh, that's what he's responding to. 16 Marines in the main base with combat shields and stim. 1 tank sieges up, and that might just be good enough alongside the auto turrets and the Marines. There we go. Yeah, there we go. There we go. No? Hello? Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. I was like, Maru definitely had enough to clean it up, but he, I think kind of like he was like, oh, I got it. Oh, wait, I don't got it. Oh, wait, I got it. It was a little awkward there. Looks like an auto turret was able to push back a drop, but it looks like the drop did kill a tank. I had to guess that's what happened there, and Time is able to encroach forward. He's got 5 tanks on the offensive, rallying more forward, actually. Maru goes for his own drop, a triple drop, actually, but he's headed towards a planetary, and that's not going to really give him... I mean, it might do some damage, but not nearly as much as what Time is finding. Time is finding an orbital, he's finding SCVs, he could find the Ravens as well. He's got to be a little careful. Tank is on the high ground. Tanks plural on the high ground, but he's taking the SCVs down with him. That is a lot of dead SCVs. Maru does go past the planetary, but into a natural that has Marines, that has a tank. He's going to just find SCV damage a little bit and then boost out of there, but that was a bit awkward. A lot of supply of Maru not in the front lines. But I think Time is getting a little bit worried of the potential for a surround, so he's going to try and pack it up and go home, but I think he's a bit too late for it. The tank's also going into a very awkward corner here. They could have gone to the right side and perhaps been safe, but instead they go to the left. Two of them go down, but the Marines of Time come forward to try and save the day. It's not going to be good enough. Auto turret's still available. Interference mission still available. And one tank does go down because of it. All the tanks eventually go down as Maru was just so successful in chasing. And Time has got to be a little worried about that. Tanks are still the bread portion, I guess, of the bread and butter composition of Marine tank, right? They're pretty important. Eating just butter is not healthy, and it's not really that tasty either. So, even though his Marine count seems fine, his upgrades seem fine, his tank count definitely is not fine. He's going to move in. That's going to be deja vu right now, but with bigger armies. Grabs both tanks on the right side, but then his own tanks are about to be grabbed by Maru. It's actually a bit of just like a clockwise circle right now as they both find each other's tanks and then try and go back to kill each other's Marines. It looks like Time's going to take the advantage there. He does have maybe more medevac healing, maybe just a couple more Marines. The upgrades had evened out by that point, but yeah. Okay then. That was actually kind of funny how that worked out, man. We could just like rewind and slow that down. It was really like they were going on two sides of the same clock. Both with the same idea, both with the knowledge of how to make sure they get maximum damage done, and that does include taking out the tanks. Maru's planetary is done back at home, so as Time tries to initiate a counter, it won't really do very much. It's a very small counter. But Time's supply is looking so much healthier than his opponent. Maru really did lose a lot in the defense, right? And then his counter wasn't as successful as he was hoping for. So he's down 20 supply. He's also going to be down severely in those upgrades. You know, he managed to get 1 or 2 fights where his upgrades were even, but now he's a good 60 seconds behind in 3-3. He's also losing out to the technology advancement of Time. He's going already into Ravens and Vikings. Got Corvor Redactor on the way. Time is playing better TvT right now than Maru is. Maru's definitely not dead yet. TvT is great at one thing, and that's giving comebacks. TvT has actually, I think, gone a little less on the comeback side, which is a little bit sad, a little bit, too bad, because that was one of the great things about TvT, but it still is great at providing those comebacks, because even if you do find the superior army in Viking Liberator or Viking Raven, which is what Time is doing, which was, has evolved in TvT over the last few years. It no longer is like a just shove as many Marines forward into tanks as possible and end up giving your lead away. It still has this beautiful thing where if Time gets a little too confident with his superior army, he might get outpositioned by an inferior, be it more mobile army of Maru. That's a maybe though, and it's actually not happening right now. Time pushes in, he's got a concave, he grabs the tanks, he grabs the Marines, he's gonna grab this game. So forget what I said. No chance for Maru to take control of the map. No chance for him to tackle the tanks and Marines of his opponent. And he's going to tap out. GG. Well played. Time is, he actually looked even better in that TvT. His TvT versus Bunny, I'd be like, okay, he's a better TvTer. And that's good. Bunny's no slouch. But, is he playing amazingly? I don't know about that one. But that was actually quite good. That was everything was deflected into a very good macro follow-up. The confidence was there to grab the 4th CC on location. And the swiftness into the technology advancement means that he didn't really give any time for Maru to breathe, much less try and initiate that comeback. Game 2 is already underway because these guys are speedy. They fast. I'm gonna grab some water though. All right. No SCVs on the way? Great. In the bottom right, down 1, he is Maru. In the top left, as the blue Terran, we got Time. And even if you do consider the lackluster results of Maru's online performances sometimes he looks fantastic, he wins the championships, wins the battles, blah, blah, blah. Still, I think if you looked at his overall consistency in an offline tournament versus online, it would be definitely more inconsistent on online. Anyways, even with that in mind, right, the whole like, oh, is Maru even trying today? I think that you can't really watch that TvT and say that Time isn't playing very, very well. Now, could Maru be playing better? Have we seen a better Maru play? One that is able to abuse his micro and find the holes in his even what looks to be a perfect defense? Yes. Maru has to do that against TY every time they meet in the grand finals, right? And he's at least somewhat successful at doing that. But nope, not last game. Maru tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to be the aggressive one. And every single time, Time was like, nope. Nah, bruh. And usually Maru is so good that even when his attacks don't work out, he still has either an even game or a lead in the game. He actually was falling behind bit by bit with every attack that didn't work. He fell behind in the production. He fell behind on the upgrades. He fell behind on stim, you know? Maru is going to try and start things up earlier than last game. Where he had the Reaper handling, he had the tank drop. This time around, double Reapers. Starting off first and foremost with the SEV and a Reaper coming to the front. Looks like Time once again had to put his command center off. Okay, yeah. I was like, did Maru even scout? He did. This isn't some weird build order choice from Time. But anyways, Maru is going to be able to bust this natural, unfortunately for Time. But Time still doing, I think, the correct thing by having his units on the high ground. See, the worst thing that could happen is that he's on the low ground unsuspecting, loses access to the natural, and loses his army. That's the worst case scenario. Right now, losing, you know, access to the natural and his bunker not finishing is still bad. It's great for Maru, but it's something that he could maybe recover from with good Reaper control. So far, he's been able to save his Reaper, but so has Maru. But finishing the command center is a really big deal, actually. Snuck that one in. Unfortunately, the high grounds Reaper. Jesus, okay. All right, whew. Okay, we're good. Yeah, so sneaking that command center in is very important. Cancels his bunker and is eventually gonna have to... He's gonna have to wait, sure, but he's eventually gonna be able to bust down that natural. I was afraid that Maru was gonna be able to grab that very, very weak Reaper, man. That was really close to dying, but the SCV pool stopped the Reapers from making the connection. That was pretty clutch. The Hellblader's already on the way out, almost done, but still... You know, Maru with 2 Reapers could probably kill a Hellblader and a couple of Marines. Don't want to play with that, do ya? I don't think Time is really serious about getting this as his natural. He doesn't really do this in TvT, but so be it. SCV's not going to die. Time is really trying to get some either information or maybe 1 or 2 SCV kills. Actually getting information right now. Seeing that 3rd command center is a big deal. So that's the good news. I mean, he would have seen a non-starport setup and been like, okay, well, where could your minerals have gone? Perhaps a proxy starport, to be fair, but yeah. Good thing he got the confirmation on the 3rd. Some better ideas to the tempo of this game. Now, Maru is still deadly, even with the 3rd command center on the way, but he's less deadly without the starport, you know, specifically. That's not going to be able to provide medevacs for harassment, Vikings for... you know, bullying, jockeying for position, liberators for, again, harassment, or ravens for potential busts or auto-turret harassment, right? Like, that's a lot of the options in TvT. Factory is fantastic at defense. Starport is pretty damn good at offense. So, that's the way I generalize them anyways. Clearly, they can be used for both, either, whatever, but... Time does finally bust out, his natural base. He was already getting medevacs, so it was really a matter of time. But clearing up the bunker, clearing up the scouting. Oh, not quite, actually. The Reapers get into the main base. They might be a little suspicious as to where the army has gone. I don't think they saw both medevacs. And this is definitely a different way of opening in professional TvT. 1 medevac, we've already seen that. Seen that multiple times, actually, already. With 4 TvTs under our belt. 2 medevacs is like more of a diamond level strat, to be honest. It's a very popular strategy in diamond level, is to get 2 medevacs, 2 tanks, and then drop. This is not tanks, though. This is obviously not diamond level. The Cyclone lock-on is fantastic for Time as he grabs Maru lock-on, so now he can get out of there with his medevacs and not have to worry about being locked on. Fantastic stuff from Time, who also has his medevacs alive and well to continue harassment later on. Time is also grabbing, it looks like, not a 3rd CC, but additional barracks. Nope, nope, that's a 3rd CC. It's early, whatever. Don't judge me. Me, commentator, me just look at what's in front, not on production tab. I thought it was a very fat barracks. But anyways, 3rd CC is on the way. I was gonna start ranting about how 2 base islands don't really work out too much in TvT anymore. But I'm glad to see Time isn't doing it. I'm still trying to get some harassment done with the 2 medevacs. So far not being able to find any success. Maru even investing into a single missile turret just to help out. 100 minerals, a little bit of peace of mind. I like it. Third is now floating over as Time finishes his orbital, so he knew that was going to be a little bit behind his opponent. But Maru, oh, okay, well, he needs to be a little bit careful. There's not a lot of firepower here, but with the Cyclone lock-on, there's a decent amount. Maru already has stim, so he could have even jumped on top of it, but chose not to. Time still working on stim, only halfway done, is really what he's lacking in. He's also a little behind in the 1-1 upgrades. His Marines just simply not as good as his opponents. Means that he's going to be very defensive. Trying to put every siege tank, every Raven in just the right place. I say every Raven like he has multiple. He only has one anyways. He did produce out of that starport non-Raven things for quite some time. But he's finishing up his 5 barracks production. Maru's already done with that, though, so he's ready to pile on the pressure. A little bit of an AI split through Death Aura, but yep, Maru is prepared to attack. Cyclone's here to scout something, anything. Maybe grab a tank? That would be pretty baller. Time sees it, but doesn't take advantage of it. Maru actually saw it first. But at least Time has some scouting. He knows what direction the army's going to be coming in from, and that is really important stuff. Death Aura is fantastic for defense. We need to know where to defend exactly. Sim is done for both sides, but combat shields is a huge deal. Interference matrix, auto turrets, everything coming down for both sides. But it looks like Time, despite not having his own combat shield, is going to be able to bust this. Wow, I'm going to have to slow that one down and reevaluate. I thought Maru's combat shield was going to win him out that battle, but it really didn't, did it? I think, geez, okay, if I had to think in my brain what happened there. In my 6 a.m. brain. It looked like, first of all, the medevacs did a fantastic job of healing. So the Marines, despite being without combat shields, didn't actually die that quickly to the Marines of Maru. Maru's tanks didn't really get any shots. This Time's last second auto turret and or interference matrix was quite useful. So again, the combat shieldless Marines aren't as vulnerable as usual. And then Time had just enough Marines to both live as well as, you know, block out the destruction of his tanks. His tanks are interference matrix, so he wasn't getting a lot of firepower there, but they lived. So Maru would have loved to have jumped on top of them before they were protected and then take advantages there. He could not do so. And Time gets to the defense. Now he has combat shields. He's trying to catch up on that 2-2. It's a little bit closer to each other now. And his 4th CC is on location just like his opponent. So just super impressive stuff from Time. I think Maru was maybe thinking along the same lines as I was. Like, oh my god, he doesn't have combat shields. Like, I'm gonna win this, it's fine. Plus, he got interference matrix down. Like, that really seemed like everything was lined up for the best swing possible. It looked like it was going to be a home run. And he actually gets pushed back, so a little disappointing for Maru, but he still holds on to the leads he's had, so better workers, bit faster on those upgrades, and now, most importantly, he's getting into faster starport production, jumping into the next phase of TvT, one that should ensure him victory if he's able to catch Time defending. If Time's able to get some map control, get some drops going, then it's a little more complicated than that. But we saw the power of a push with Ravens and tanks last game. It's what Time was able to secure his victory with. And Maru would like to do the same thing. It's not quite severe, though. Maru was certainly on the back foot last game for like 2-3 minutes before that Raven tank push really did kill him. Whereas Time is a little bit on the back foot, isn't as much as Maru was hoping for. And in fact, is very much so going back on the front foot. Is that how you would say it, I guess? But he's actually the one pushing, and Maru's the one scrambling for defense. He's not quite ready. His date has arrived at the time allotted, and he's like, no, I'm not dressed. I don't have my makeup on. Go away. This is really awkward for Maru. He's investing a lot into things that aren't quite helping him out. I mean, he's investing into Viking Raven, but he's losing out in the Viking War right now. That's a little awkward. It's a little awkward. But not awkward enough to stop the push or to continue pushing. Wait, no. It's not awkward enough to lose against the push. There we go. And Maru's tank count, high ground of Death Aura, still maxed out or mostly maxed out army is going to be enough. Time's forced to retreat, get his own starports, worry about his own Viking count once again. He had the lead, but he's losing it. And perhaps start thinking about those upgrades as well for ship weapons. Wouldn't mind seeing it. Usually they at least get +2. Yeah. For their tanks. And then they move on to ship weapons. A little bit of scuffles. Maru was looking for a dive on top of the third base, but there were plenty of tanks anyways, so that wasn't gonna happen. Plenty of tanks everywhere. 9 tanks for Time, 11 for Maru, both trying to get to that Viking count, and Maru finally adding on some more Ravens. That's actually not that impressive of a tank count, and Time agrees. He jumps on top of this big old con give. Maru knew the army was around, but thought perhaps that there wouldn't be enough to combat that. Or Time would see a tank and be like, oh, shit. Oh, Time took 4 tanks with him. Unfortunately, he does lose a command center as Maru just sets a handful of Marines. You know, no medevacs here. He's just giving away supply, trying to find some success while he builds up to a better composition. And certainly killing a command center is a success. Now trying to go into that high ground. He's simming once again, so he's very vulnerable to basically anything that reinforces. But he's finding a couple of units, delays. This ain't bad. Eventually these Marines will die, though. They're simming again, so they will definitely die. There we go. And Time still finishes his extra 2 command centers, so a loss of a 5th base is very temporary. Time's already back up to it. Maru's getting his 5th, or will eventually, once he realizes his command center is floating over to nowhere. Hello? He'll realize it. Don't worry about it. He'll get there. Tank's gonna siege up. Scan is available for Time. Maru should have plenty of scans as well, but Time didn't take advantage of having the vision. It's very risky anyways. I'm pretty sure Maru's gonna be paying attention. 3-3 is finished up for Time a bit faster. Or +3 has, but Maru's right on his heels, so there is no upgrade advantages. It is all about positioning. It's all about how they use their Viking Raven, which Time is currently favored in the Raven count, but very not favored in the Viking count. Thank you, Muku, for the 32 months. The Cyberpunk minigame looks pretty cool. Everyone doing the Cyberpunk thing. This is about to get awkward. Sensor Tower was not quite finished. Interference, which just goes down. A bit awkward for Maru just because his command center, the command centers at Time stopped his... Well, it didn't really stop it, did it? Never mind, just kidding. Didn't really stop the destruction of that planetary. And now Time is returned home to try and combat this. Anti-air missiles coming down everywhere. No interference matrix. Vikings of Time actually winning the air war right now, but the tanks on the ground are winning the ground war from Maru. Couple of tanks left over, and actually Time's gonna drop on top of them, so never mind. Auto turrets also coming down, however, from both sides means that the tanks of Time were just barely enough. Auto turrets are a hell of a unit. But Time does clean that up. It is not a very pretty cleanup. He is still down in army supply. He also lost a lot of Ravens, a lot of Vikings, a lot of tanks. Maru currently with 12 Vikings to Time's 0 Vikings. At least the tank count is still somewhat similar, as they both very much so traded in that engagement. Time also saved his planetary, it looks like. I definitely think it got into the red, but then Maru had to tell his tanks to shoot elsewhere. There's this really unfortunate thing that if you're not a Terran player, you won't know. I'm gonna tell you, in TvT, if you're firing away on a planetary, your tanks will take They'll be very stubborn about shooting anything else besides that planetary. You actually have to focus on it. Time is only down 20 army supply, but realizing the game is already snowballed out of control, just taps out. He was going to lose a 5th base that he desperately needed and wasn't going to be able to bust or trying to find any success elsewhere. I mean, he could have maybe initiated a base race to make the ending a little bit more interesting. That's, yeah, I could have, but he did not. He let that game go. And just moves on to game 3. That is 1-1, right? I'm not crazy. They're usually so fast that even these like 10 seconds have me worried. Okay, we're in lobby. We're good. It's really quite warm. Sweater's too good. Sweater too powerful. Game 3 on Lightshade. In the bottom right for Team NV, he is Maru. And the top left for Team Kaisi Gaming, he is Time. I still suspect that Streamlabs is kind of borked. I still suspect it. It looks like follow alerts are working. That's odd. It's weird. There's a lot of streams today, guys, in both English and in other languages. While you might not speak Russian or French or whatever, it is still worth checking out that Team Liquid sidebars. There's a lot of matches today. There seem to be some lower bracket matches actually happening. Shock all. When it comes to Korean brackets, they tend to despise lower brackets. It's kind of funny. But everyone so far is apparently played out. I don't see any walkovers anyways. I don't remember if ESL actually has a walkover indication. But, whatever. SOS is facing Rogue in the lower bracket. What? Who beat Rogue? Nice. Wow. Oh, shit. Nice. Bruh. You know, it was really good of him to beat Ragnarok, but to beat Rogue as well. He's facing Solar. He's kind of looking at PVZs. This is nice going to qualify. Shit. All right, anyways. Zest versus Spear. Okay, who killed Zest? Solar did. Dream versus Ragnarok, and then waiting on some more results. But yeah, glad to see the lower bracket actually playing out. But that does mean a lot of very good matches. So this is not a qualifying match yet, guys. We see a little bit of something. Just harassment with SCVs. It's not a qualifying match yet. The winner of this is facing the winner of Dark versus Trap, which is currently on one of the... Oh no, it's English, actually. Renegade. It's an English commentator. You want to go check that out? Seems to be a pretty good matchup. Yeah, but that'll be a qualifying match. And then these guys do still have a chance in that lower bracket. Top 8 qualify, though. Top 8. So... It's a lot of spots, really. Especially when you consider that it is, like, amongst the usuals. You would expect to get those spots. It'd be, like, 24 people, right? The GSL contenders, basically, plus 1 or 2 surprises like Nice, so that's really cool, or like Time, who might still win this game 3. But yeah, top 8 isn't so bad. That's a big chunk of those players, right? It is still like, yeah, all the players are scary, is the problem. You know, it's not like you get to the lower bracket and you're like, oh great, I no longer have to worry about facing Rogue. No, actually you do apparently. Rogue's down there too. So pretty scary stuff. We did have a 2-racks opener again from Maru, but finding a little less success this time around. Time had a very awkward time of things, but eventually did finish up his command center. Ooh, okay, well there's a delay, all right. So still a little awkward, but you kind of have to expect it though. With this many Reapers, it's always going to be a bit awkward until you can actually get 2 Hellions out, and that'll give you some confidence. If it's only 1, that Hellion gonna die if he's not careful. Reaper's gonna die if they're not careful, dragging him to the Widow Mine. Maru is very aware of it, however, and dodges out. Loses only 1 Reaper, but Time losing none of his units. No, the Hellion did go down. Got popped. Whoops-a-daisy. Still. 1 unit for 1 unit is not too bad if his command center is actually allowed to finish on time, which apparently it is not allowed to finish on time. Now the medevac is here, it'll heal the Marines, it'll heal the Reapers, it'll give them some micro. I'll definitely be able to push this back. But if Maru saves his Reapers, continues microing them like he's been doing, then he can always threaten a backstab. And that's something that Time has to worry about. Behind this, by the way, Maru has finished his orbital command as Time starts his, despite having the more aggressive opener, despite having the 150 minerals in this. It's not as delayed of a command center as the factory expand, I do believe, but it is still supposed to be a delay compared to a 1-Rex expand, and all the damage that he's done, he's actually gotten ahead there, so that's very nice. Also ahead in workers by 2, getting a 3rd CC. Time is once again going for the double medevac opener. I actually thought this was a bit of a response to last game, and I suppose it could be a response this game too. Maybe this is his response to a 2-Rex Reaper opener, but I was specifically thinking last game because last game he looked to be a little more contained. This time around, he's actually pushed away pretty quickly, and well, there's that backstab I was talking about. This actually is devastating stuff. Oh no. Oh no. 1 Marine trying to save the day alongside the SCV buddies. 3rd command center has already been halted. Maru would love another halt, but not going to find it. Meanwhile, Time's dropped. That's actually getting to the main base. Cyclone's still alive, but 1 shot from that tank will kill it. Widowmine is not going to shot on top of that Raven, so it is alive, although it is out of energy, and the Cyclone actually does end up surviving. This did not go as well as Time was hoping for, and he needs to get out of there with at least 1 medevac alive so he can continue the harassment, but he didn't kill the Cyclone, he didn't kill the Raven, the Widowmine didn't pop off, he didn't delay the 3rd command center. He did get a couple of SCVs though, and that is the most important thing. Maru did have to pull SCVs in order to save as much army as he did, so while the army supply looks a little imbalanced, Time is not looking so hot there. He has even up the workers killed, despite Maru getting a backstab. And now it is just a question of like, well, can he hold any eventual attack that Maru has? Maru with 2 Reapers still has a backstab potential. Still does, but now Time with a single medevac also does. Something that Maru is forced to consider at the very least. The biggest difference between these 2 builds, these 2 guys, is definitely that stim timing. Stim has finally started for Time as Maru starts his combat shields. And Maru continues to be obnoxious with his Reaper. See, this is what was missing from the first game. First game that Time won, he was able to deflect everything. Anytime Maru seemed to maybe have an opening or find something, it wasn't actually there. This time around with, you know, double the Reaper power, I suppose, with 2 racks as opposed to a factory, Time has not been able to handle things perfectly. And with so many low SCVs, his auto turret, oof. Those 3 right off the bat, 4, might get a 5th. Yep, I get a 6th. It did. It did. That was a lot of SCV damage. Whew. Time's getting bullied. And this is the Maru that I described, right? After that first game happened, we go to the second game, and I was like, yeah, Maru usually can find a lot of successes where other people don't. You know, these micro tricks that he has usually end up getting him leads, and you think that they really shouldn't. You know, that's been kind of missing. Well, it seems like he's warmed up to TvT now, and he is back to what we'd expect from Maru, which is getting the full damage of even the tiniest units. Even the most early game, unimportant units like a Reaper are still doing damage, still distracting, and the auto turret getting way more than it should have. 3 was acceptable because, well, a lot of SCVs were low, but 6 was too bad. 6 was... It puts down the SCV count by Time by 8 in total. Yeah. That is questionable, and Time, I think, realizes he's a bit desperate to get some counter damage done. How about a Doom Drop? How about 3 Medivacs in your base, Maru? Maru doesn't seem to like that very much. Time choosing a risky play is being rewarded for it. Takes out the Cyclone, delays a command center, barracks, sorry. Auto turrets coming down alongside Interference Matrix, but it looks like it's more powerful for Time. Yeah, only 2 tanks firing away with the concave that Maru was able to grab. Yeah, that is going to be a cleanup. If Time's 4 tanks were firing away, it's a bit more questionable, but he only had 2 of them. Maru cleans this up, actually drops on top of the drop itself, and then is going to clean that up as well. And Maru still has his Ravens alive, still has combat shields advantage over his opponent. Yeah, he's not going to take any more damage from that. That was very scary, right? He was coming in through a choke right here, but his Raven usage was as good as it should have been. And while the 5th barracks was a bit delayed, his 4th still finishes up. Actually, it looks like he was a bit late to this reactor as well, so, okay. Alright, that's a little concerning. I mean, Time's production isn't so much better right now, and clearly has to get across the map, but Maru really wants production right now. His Ravens are out of juice, not going to be nearly as helpful as they were last time. But this time around, Time does not have any tanks, and he loses his Raven to a Viking snipe. Goes back to the 3rd. Time's going to play hop around and try and find the openings that Maru usually wouldn't be susceptible to, but now he is. Actually, the Marines up at top of the tank, and Maru is scrambling for defense. Has Time actually done it with the mass drops? No, now almost. He's killing a lot of SCVs, but the Marine count's getting a little bit thin there, and Maru has 1 more tank to depend on, and that's going to be enough to at least shoo Maru away from the production, from the rally of units, but not enough to shoo him away from the 3rd command center. More SCVs are still going down. Time is now taking an economic lead, but his upgrade's still a bit delayed. He needs to catch up on that before he can really start feeling confident in this game. Good pick up there on the tank to save that. That is amazing play so far from Time. But with all of that micro, with all of that speed and urgency, Time has started to miss macro a little bit here. He never got those 2 additional barracks, so his production really wasn't good. Maru was a bit delayed on his, but it still ends up being faster than his opponent. I mean, you bank 1,000 minerals, even when things are going well your way on the offensive, it still is a mistake. It's an understandable one, but it is a mistake. And Time is able to slap down both barracks and a command center at roughly the same time. It's not usually what you would be looking for. 1-1 is finally finishing for our boy Time, but he is now behind on that 2-2. Still gonna struggle to take the Marine versus Marine fights, but another drop into the main base? No, I don't think you want to do that. That's a lot of Marines. And Maru's also got enough units this time around to both protect his main and his 3rd. Time was able to kill 30 SCVs, and I do believe about 20 of those were in the hop around that he did. I'm gonna guess like 10 to 15 was the main tank, right? When he got the initial worker lead, and then the rest were jumping from the main to the natural to the 3rd. Actually, naturals remained mostly untouched. If there's like a Liberator coming in here, that would have been tough, but looks like Maru was even predicting that. Has a single missile turret to help out. 4th command center, I think it makes sense with how like frenzied Time has looked, all right? Like a little bit of desperation can be felt, I think, even from Maru. That this command center is not in location. But with Time getting that frenzied state and getting a bit of a lead, he has grabbed the 4th command center on his actual location, but oh no. Oh, the timing on this is really brutal. That is enough Marines to tear down the command center without a repair in Time. Oh, he was trying to get a lead right now, but he's not going to be able to find it. He might be able to deny his opponent's 4th, though, and that'll even things up at the very least. Okay, all right, the game, yeah, all right. Okay, there's still a chance here for Time. But man, if his planetary was 10 seconds faster, that doesn't die. And he is now taking an extreme economic lead, or, well, not even really then, right? Because Maru's got the 72 workers? Ah! Oh, Time. So close to finding the breaking point of his opponent. Finding a way back into this game. He's being denied just ever so slightly at every turn. Thank you, 2Easy21 for the 4 months, ZombieGrub. Don't you speak to me or my children ever again. Time is pretty quick to replacing the 4th command center. It's really difficult in a TvT to actually go for an all-in. I mean, what are you gonna do? Pull SCVs into a Marine? No, you're not. So I do like that he It's 400 minerals away from marine production, from tank production. He's got 2 factories, can't afford to use them, but I think it is the right call. This isn't gonna work out though. When he boosted in here, this is gonna be game over actually. Time, too risky, didn't work out. I think that is basically, yep, it is, it's game. GG. I mean, the one spot he hadn't dropped in was the natural, and he was hoping to find Maru both undefended the natural and also probably moving out a little more aggressively. You know, leaving his tanks back at home, dropping with all his marines. You're hoping they're moving out. Maru wasn't.